All right. It's Friday night. And we are going to be painting a frog bard on a Kamvas 24-inch Huion tablet tonight. How is everybody doing? Welcome, welcome. I have an insidious slime. This is what's actually, this is a realistic depiction of the nasal congestion affliction, which has once again befallen my household. So we've personified it in the insidious slime. But that's not what we're working on tonight. It's what we finished before. This is what we're working on tonight. Our community designed frog bard. And let's see. Yeah, so I've got a couple brushes that I think are going to serve us well. This will be the first time I'm working in color on this Kamvas Huion. Shout out to Huion for sending me this to try out. Let's see. Yeah, we'll just leave this guy up. How is everybody doing, though? Issa, thank you so much for the sub. Clayton, Kuratake, Maria, Drea Draws. Great to have all of you here. So, I've got an excellent little drink. It's 2 parts Red Bull, 1 part coffee with a whole capsule of caffeine added in. I'm kidding. No, it's not. This is the classic hot lemon, which is the cure. The cure for this guy right here. This is what solves the problem. It is a wedge of lemon, 4 dashes of cinnamon, a little bit of cloves, some extremely hot water, and honey. And you can add a little something extra if you like. But it is excellent, and it is the perfect counter to the insidious slime. And I'm hoping it will carry us through tonight because we've got a long way to go. I don't think we're going to finish this thing tonight, but I'm going to give it like a solid effort. We've got like 2 hours, maybe 3. I don't know. It kind of just depends on how long we can go. Yeah, so the classic hot toddy is what we've got going on here tonight to power us through. So, I did do a little bit of corrections last time. I moved our character a little bit so that he would register with this this step a little bit better. Now, whether or not he does, that is anyone's... You guys will have to be the judge of that. Let's see. I wanted to show some other reference, and it's not here. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I do have more than the usual amount of NDA stuff scattered about on the desktop here, so I can't just willy-nilly be showing the screen. Okay. Back we go. Photoshop. Okay, so one of my big inspirations is Huion Kamvas, one of the greatest painters of all time, certainly one of the greatest in the narrative, imaginative realism department. Did a lot of very satirical, witty images of the clergy back when he was working, and this is called The Preening Peacock. It's very nice. And so he's been a great inspiration of mine. He and Lord Leighton are probably like the two biggest for this whole tilt towards classicism that I've gone through. So yeah, this is kind of informing some of our color choices and palette and lighting and really just everything. Because I love him. I think he's just so good. So I've got that off to the side. Other than that, that's it. I don't really have much else by way of reference. I don't have a frog. I meant to go catch one. That I thought would have been fun on stream. Couldn't find one. Alright, so... yeah, color. Not really done this before, and I think we've done a lot with the frog here. And we could just keep working on that, but what I think I'm going to do instead is just paint some leaves for us to get started. We'll be getting moving with just some leaves and getting a feel for the brushes, and more than anything, getting used to actually looking where I'm painting versus looking at the screen, which is my usual method of working. And ooh, already I can feel like I feel like I'm going to be moving a lot faster. Now, whether that is good or bad, that's anyone's guess. That too remains to be seen. Yeah, so I feel like we are going to be moving. Let's zoom in. I mean, why not? This is it's a cool experience. I've never actually gotten to try and do this kind of painting with like a Cintiq or a Huion, one of these actual screen on tablets. I will say the color is off from my monitor, and I tried to correct it ahead of, like, before the stream. Couldn't do it. Could not work out what needed to happen in order to get the colors calibrated correctly. And I downloaded drivers, I restarted, I uninstalled, reinstalled. Simply could not get those drivers to allow me to calibrate this monitor correctly. So I'm doing something wrong. And I just didn't want to, like, spend my entire evening troubleshooting. So I can actually see what the colors are in front of me on the monitor, and this will be good enough, I think, for us to get on with for now. But that'll be something for later. is to try and figure out if we can't troubleshoot this maybe and get even a little more color accuracy on the tablet itself. Okay, so who else is painting tonight? Anyone else? Is it just me who's the lunatic artist not going out and socializing on a Friday night and instead locking himself away in his dungeon and painting the night away? It's what I do every night. Hey, David Peterson. How are you doing, man? I think you were streaming yesterday. I tuned in for a bit. I can never chat. But it was looking good, man. How have you been? I see that you're doing your dragons now. I still hope to jump in on one of your Let's Draw Dragons streams. You know I love that kind of thing. I'd love to do that and then try and challenge myself with a watercolor. See if I can't do like a watercolor on the stream. It'd be a fun stream. I've been so bogged down with client work, just trying to fight my way out of this pit that I've dug for myself. And it's not working. I'm not doing good. What's socializing? Lord of Tempest painting some heraldry. That's awesome. Yeah, post that on the Discord.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Let's see. Watching other people paint while drinking tea. Well, I mean, I that's what I was doing last night. Nothing wrong with that. Who told you it was okay to be working on talking animals? For your information, David, this is a singing animal. I don't think you have the corner on that market yet, pal. I'm gonna absolutely push you out of that industry. Yeah, I guess. But I know you have a lot of singing. You've got bards, mice bards. Also, in my defense, this was a community challenge, so you'll have to blame Annie Noodle. This was, I believe, her recommendation. I think she won. She got the most votes for our little Twitch Draws challenge. I've been using this really sharp brush, and I like it, but I want to switch over and just see what it's like to do something more watercolory. This is going to be a very, this whole painting is going to be very exploratory. I have no idea where we're going to end up. Ooh, that's nice. I'm starting to look at the screen again as opposed to, or the monitor again as opposed to the Cintiq. Gotta stop that. I'm not taking advantage of the very reason I bought, or wanted to try this thing. I was able to calibrate the pen better before stream, and so it is much better. Like I didn't realize that you could, calibrate it so that whatever angle you typically work at, you could make it so that the point of the pen is touching where the cursor is for you. So that was great. That was something that was kind of bothering me last time. I found myself like, I'm going to write a hard review about that feature, but it was just because I hadn't researched it yet. So far, this is, I will say that no matter what, this just works so much faster, which is really cool. Oh, Kuretake, that's awesome. First Friday for the Dragon Draw Along. Was today? That's okay. So it's not next Friday. It's the Friday after that, I guess. I'm gonna try and make it if I can. How long are you doing this for? Just till you decide to do something else? Two weeks from now. All right. That's right. Lady Rory thrown right under the bus. I don't want the whole mouse guard coming after me.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Okay, I like this brush, but I do think the last one moved a bit faster. Hey there, Errol. Hello, hello. Working on a slime creature. Maria, that sounds awesome. I was saying it at the beginning that we've had a bit of like this head cold congestion, which my voice probably has a bit of that nasal buzz, and I apologize for that. But we've been fighting some horrible bug that our children brought back from first grade here for like a week now. And the insidious slime, you know, it's cathartic to paint that kind of thing. Because it truly is what I feel is going on. Let's try a bit of a smoother brush. Let's see what a smoother brush works a bit like. I do like that a lot. All right, let's use this for a little bit. Let's just see how it goes. I want to go at least a year. Oh, that's great, David. Speaking of the guard, how's the book going? I feel like I've been completely out of the loop. I spent most of the last semester sick, again with the children's plagues from first grade,
Thank you, bye-bye.
and then trying to catch up on work. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Thank you, bye-bye.
How did I come up with the palette off to the right? So I got a bunch of colors together. This is a fun trick you can do to unify a palette. I got like really bold colors. Hey, well, we're Nib. Nice time for a stream. Thank you for the 16 months. So you can get like bright colors. Just like a random spectrum of bright colors, which is what I did. And then you just select like your tone, which was this. So this is going to be like the tone. And you just, you know, what I ended up doing was creating, I think it was a normal layer, and filling the normal layer. Where is it? Filling the normal layer, and then just dragging the opacity down. And you can unify your entire palette that way. And really, just get your vibrant primaries if you want. And then drag this down. If you want to up the saturation, which I didn't in this case, but if you wanted to, you change it to hard light. And you could be working with a much hotter, more saturated version, or soft light, or overlay. Like, just roll through the different layer modes, and you can create like a really cool set of colors that work, like that are naturally going to function together, and you don't have to do anything. Like, it's done. You know, just get your usual red, green, blue, purple, like whatever. Throw it all in there, and I don't know what these were originally, but I know that there's a lot of really primary colors in there, and then I just threw this tone over top of them and flattened everything. I am not really great with color, so I tend to use those dirty tricks Because why do more work, you know? I used to do the thing where you would color select from a photo. And then I got a tip from a friend that if you really want to do it right, a buddy of mine who does watercolors only would do a thing where he scans in his watercolor palette. And I learned this like years and years and years ago, and I don't do it enough. But he scanned in like a page with all his watercolor splotches on it, and then uses that. He color picks from that, so that everything he does digitally has that nice traditional watercolor vibe. Even though people don't realize it, it's just that the palette it has that same classical look, and it's all muted evenly like watercolor. So it's a cool idea. If you're ever wondering for another kind of shortcut you can use. Once again, well-worn nib. Thank you so much. Great having all of you here on this Friday night. We're going to see how far we can make it with this tonight. I know we had a lot of trouble with the frog. I can't remember who was giving me the hard time about him not seeming like he was sitting on the step here. And he still isn't quite. Like, we still have a little bit of work to do to get him to look like it. But I feel like we did correct some of it. And for anyone who missed that, that's what it looked like before. And then we changed it just a little bit. Really subtle change, but I think it's enough to like bring those proportions and positions in line. So, but we'll still probably do more work on it. I want to get there slowly. I want to begin with. I really want to just finish this pillar. Let's do something that's inconsequential, low risk, low stakes. You know, if we screw it up, it's not the end of the world. One other thing that's going to be hard for me to get used to is I have so much more real estate on my monitor here on this canvas, and because of that, I don't always. It's not the same for what you're seeing. So occasionally, I'm just like off the where OBS is picking up the cursor. So if I am missing it, just yell at me. Oh, I do like how fast you move. So this is how those other digital painters are doing it. Shh, we're not going to talk about the book right now. Oh no. Well, all right, David. I mean, it's not like I can throw any stones, David. I've got, projects that I was talking to you about years ago that I still just haven't had a chance to finish. It's a good problem to have, because clients come along and they stop you from doing the thing that you want to do. But that's sort of the point. Like, you'd like to be paid for what you're doing. And if they're coming along saying, stop what you're doing and do my job, do this job for me. I mean, it's a good thing, especially if they're dream clients that you've like wanted to work with for a long time. It's hard to say no to that kind of thing. But I'm in the same boat. I feel like I'm so far behind where I ought to be, and there's a paranoia that we're sort of downstream from the broader economy, and we've had some bumpy moments here and there. And you get a sense of, especially if you've lived through a couple like really lean months before, you get a sense of like, hey, if the work is here and it's paying, I need to take it. It'd be absolutely irresponsible not to take it while it's here. I can always do my own projects later, but this work may be gone soon if I don't take advantage of it. And so you start sidelining your dreams a little bit. To do these projects just because they'll pay the bills, and maybe these projects will be gone in a couple months, and you'll regret it if you don't, make the best of them now. And then this just they keep stacking up one on another, and then after a while, you just never do your own projects, which I just hate. I just feel like I've not moved forward on a lot of the big promises I've made, like on Patreon and everything. We're gonna do this and we're gonna do that, and then and then I never do it. I'm going to do it. Those of you who are supporting me on Patreon, you rock. And I will not forget you. We're gonna do some cool things this year. I got some projects I gotta finish first. Oh man, I like how this feels. I was expecting the opposite. I was expecting to really like the drawing and hate the painting. And I had a harder time with the drawing than I was expecting. And here I am enjoying the painting a lot more than I was expecting. So this Huion tablet is full of surprises. Does Paul Bonner work exclusively with watercolor? Yes. I've actually talked with him about other mediums like acrylic and digital and oil, and he hates them. He's just said, he's like, I've tried them. I get them and I mess around with them and I just throw them all in the trash. he just hates them. The only other medium that Paul likes to work in, to my knowledge, apart from pencil, because he's an excellent, just an astonishingly good pencil draftsman. Probably one of my favorites in the world. But he also loves painting minis, like Warhammer and all of those. And he's got like this shocking collection of like 2,000 figures or something. And I think that's like maybe his way of decompressing or something, is just to sit down and paint a couple Space Marines or something. Though I think it's mostly orcs. But I feel like there's an overlap there between his watercolor stuff and the army painter materials that he otherwise uses. I could be wrong. I've never asked him about that specifically. He says actually I shouldn't say that. I don't know how much of what he's doing now is secret. He's got NDA stuff too. Anyway, one of my heroes, that guy. What a legend. Could you add a fly? Oh, motif. Nick DeLuca, a fly motif to the embroidery. So a fly motif on the guitar would be very easy. The embroidery would be tougher, but not impossible. And I really like that idea so much that I'm just going to go ahead and sketch one out. That's a great call right there. Let's sketch one out. Maybe something like this. And we'll come back to it. That'll remind me, because I like your idea there, and we might actually do some gold or something of that. It's a fun idea. I had actually had another character in here, a little beetle that was playing the violin. It just didn't look right. I've tried adding multiple figures to this. I tried adding the Witcher, the frog Witcher, because that seemed like a really funny idea. Toss a coin to your Frogger, or as Adriano phrased it, toss a coin to your Twitcher. I just couldn't get him to look right. So as much as I love the idea of doing a frog version of the Witcher, which that would be great. So a whole fun parody series to be had there that I would be into. But anyway, yeah, it's a good idea. All right, so if we zoom out, let's see. I feel like that is very classical. I actually think that's great. So I'm liking how that's moving along. I guess we could just keep going down, finish the ivy out, and then just start working into the character. Part of me wants to like do these other characters just to have some, to get some paint on the canvas, add some context. But I'm not going to. I'm not going to do that. The frog is more interesting, and I just feel like people are going to be much more keen on that, and why not? I am as well. Oh, Nick, I'll check it out. Oh, thanks, Black Udon. Loot fly, don't bother me. What was the reason behind the switch to Huion? Huion sent me this for a review. I do love their light boards. Actually, I think David Peterson was the one who recommended them many moons ago. And so I've been using their light boards for years. And I was aware of the tablet. My friend Esben highly recommended them. I've always been a Wacom fanboy, and had some conversations with him. And I believe they may have sponsored him too at some point. But he said a lot of good things, like that for the money they were great, and he was using one at the time. Last time I was hanging out with him, and yeah, he made it sound like it was great. He's been in the chat once or twice before. Esben, if you are in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you had said you preferred the Huion over the Cintiq, which was surprising. Anyway, I haven't used a Cintiq in quite a while. I've not liked them, and I think if I had to actually choose between the two, for the money, I think I'm going to be going with this. My understanding is this is a lot cheaper than the Cintiq. That you're getting a lot more value out of the Huion, and I'm not noticing any, quality differences thus far that would justify, the higher price. It's not Staedtler levels of fanboyness that I'm going to be going with at this point, but give it time. It could get there. It's going to take a lot to get anything to replace Staedtler and Strathmore for me as my primary fanboying out over their products. All right, let's keep... I don't know, maybe I need to do these stairs in the background a bit, just to add some context. I feel like if there's nothing there, it's going to throw off everything. Because you're always painting in relation to everything else around, the area that you're in. So if you have perfect reference, you can puzzle piece your way across an image, like Greg Manchis, like putting the precise color, the precise value blob of paint in the precise place at the precise angle, like some kind of superhuman AI, which is what I assume Greg Manchis actually is. But without the way the freewheeling insanity that is the way I tend to paint, just doesn't tolerate that kind of thing. Like, I would never be able to do it. And I can't do it. I don't know why. I've tried. I tried to be Greg Manchis, and I couldn't. I failed. And this just suits me a lot better. But I do feel like with this method, you do kind of need context around what you're painting. Otherwise, you start registering against, the unfinished canvas. Treating these gauging these colors based on what they look like against white and not what they actually look like against the sort of drab mud that I'm actually going to have back here. So to a certain extent, I do need to finish a little of this. Hey, Summers Guy. Hope you're doing well. Hello, hello. AO Silver, hello. Thank you so much. Do I have a 925 tattoo? Not where I can show on stream. It's a terrible joke on so many levels. Well. You tell one bad joke and look who shows up. Duchump, I need an explanation. I need you to tell me who is Batman? Who is the Dork Knight? Duchump. Folks in chat, if you're not already following Duchamp on TikTok, you're missing out. I think my understanding is that his Instagram is now just screenshots of the comment section from his TikToks, which are just a gold mine. Duchamp, I don't know how you have the energy you have. You respond like with seriously well thought out one-liners to literally everyone. How do you do this? Anyway, he did some, for anyone who missed it, he's done some Batman portraits. If you're a fan of Batman and want to see some dead-on, stunning Batman portraits, you need to go check out Duchamp on TikTok. I assume that's your handle. It's not really a frequently used name, so I assume you were able to nab it before before all the NFT haters got it. But the Batman comment was killing me. Annie and I both. Just in tears. It's real good. Real good. Yeah, those TikTok kids, they're wild. Oh, what's wrong? Why won't this work? There it is. Okay. Okay. How's this look like on screen? I feel like we're still doing good. We're still doing good. Whoa, Steve! Long time no see, man. Steve, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for the raid. Hope life's been treating you good. Hope you guys had a good art stream. Welcome aboard. We're trying out a Huion tablet tonight. And just seeing if we can get a nice sort of classical vibe going on with it. And so far, I'm enjoying it. I am having a devil of a time keeping looking at the monitor, or excuse me, Yeah, I keep looking at the monitor and not at the tablet, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of this experiment. Old habits. 20 years of digital painting habits are hard for me to break. That's all there is to it. Anyway, Steve, thank you so much. Hope you guys had a good stream. Oh, hopefully we'll run into each other at a convention here at some point. It's been a while. Sketching, well, that's awesome. Hey, Professor Oaks. No, I still tend to use the classic Intuoses. I do still love them, but Huion was nice enough to send me this. We'll be writing a review on it here at some point once I can kind of wrap this image up. I'd like to have some proof that I actually did use the tablet before, writing the review. And I can't just put up garbage. Got to put up something decent. So we're going to try and put something nice together for them. And so far, I'm liking it. Okay. What am I missing? What was I doing? Oh yeah. Keep looking at the tablet. And I just want let's wrap these leaves up and paint some of this frog. He is, after all, the star of the show. I kind of want to try doing a couple little vines. Just a couple little, curly cues in there. I feel like it needs some of that sharp detail. Not much, because, it's a background area. You don't want to overdo it in the background. It only needs to support the character, not replace it. Okay. Also, that was the text went by sort of fast there for a minute. If I missed anything, or if anyone had any comments or anything I missed, or questions rather, just at me in the chat. Okay. Kind of still, this green is what's throwing it off. We're gonna do that. That's better. That's what was like. Why is this not reading as a pillar? Oh yeah, because it's green. The rest of the pillar isn't green. Learn how to paint, you scrub. I did a lecture, well, not a lecture, like a guest speaker thing a couple days ago for Leeds College, and they had asked somebody, some punk asked, can you show us one of your old pieces and what you don't like about it? It's just, some people can never have enough. And it became the roast of Justin Gerard. Justin Gerard roasts Justin Gerard, because nobody out there is going to hate my work more than myself. And just trying to sort of explain why I hated the image or felt it was a failure, or why I burned it shortly after making it, which I did. And a lot of it was just like that there were so many blind spots that I just didn't know. By the way, if you're watching the stream and you are the one who asked that question, it was a good question. Thanks for asking. I don't ever mind doing that. It was a good question. But it is a thing where, like, I think learning to see, like, where the problem is ends up being one of the best skills you can ultimately develop, and it's a really hard one. Spotting all those blind spots, and I do think it's probably the number one reason to have, like, I don't want to call it an art support group, but like a narrow community of a very limited community of people that you bounce ideas off of and get their critical feedback, who are hopefully professionals in one degree or another.
Bye-bye.
You know, either practicing artists themselves or literally a museum curator or something, but, you know, experts to give you critical feedback to point out blind spots. Because I will say, like, having had just like a handful of pro artists tell me what I was missing. And I think importantly, I had done everything in my power to address my image making problems. Like, why was I not getting it? And I had gone through Loomis, and I'd gone through Barg, and I'd gone through Harold Speed, and I had done tons of studies of artists that I had liked. And I just wasn't, there was something missing or wrong, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And so, you know, having artists that I trusted, like, beat me up a little bit, helped me, not just like on the paintings I was working on, because that was awesome, but in the future be able to see it for myself, that like, oh, I'm doing it again. I've done the thing where it's only horizontal lines in the upper left and then a blank, vague nothingness in the upper right. Why do I do this in every composition? I don't know. It's some weird blind spot. Probably because I played video games too much as a child and didn't apply myself in school. Who knows? But here we are. And I gotta fix it. Or I'm destined to remain a scrub forever. Never able to achieve his dreams. Nobody wants that. Can you share the illustrations you roasted and why you roasted it? Nick DeLuca was... Are you trying to ruin me? We can save this. Fine, Nick. Hold on, I'll pull it up. I actually couldn't find it, so we're gonna try and do, I think it's like as far back as you can go on Instagram. Because they were trying to get me to show, you know, stuff that I didn't like, and the truth is I burned so much of it that I literally was just struggling for examples. Because if I don't like something, I try and you know, Barbara Streisand it and banish it from the internet. There it is. Okay, so this is the one that that I talked about. Wow, there's some nice people. Thanks, everybody. So the image in general, I still, like, conceptually, and this is where the problem is like conceptually, I think this is a really cool image. And so a lot of times you finish an image and you're like, oh, conceptually, this was terrible. I should just quit. Is there another industry I could go into? Is agribusiness in my future? Surely this isn't it. But no, if your concept was good and you're like, no, this is pretty cool. It's some kind of, you know, Greek hoplite who's been distracted, not staying on his mission, and he's been distracted by these sirens who have led him into this trap, and now he's like, he's facing down some horrible hydra. And there's all kinds of, like, story ideas going on, and compositionally, like there was things that were working. But then there was like when I finished it, I just hated it, and I ended up burning the watercolor. And friends of mine, I asked them like, "What did I do wrong here?" And they said, "And Clayton, I want you to just calm down, okay? Just calm down." But they said, "Mirror it. Why aren't you mirroring it? Why aren't you flipping it? Because if you flipped it, then you would see like this pillar is not a thing." This is not how anything works. And you'd see that if you mirrored it. And so there was like this weird blind spot that I didn't know. And it's like, why does this space down here look so garbage? Oh, it's because the tip of this spear it's just touching this block. I couldn't have pulled the spear back a little bit or made it go a little bit forward to break this. No, I had to create the worst tangent anyone has ever seen in their lives. And then I had to just lean into it and render the heck out of everything around it. Ruined it. And there was other things that I would have noticed that the skull and teeth were so mangled up here, and that would have been an easy fix. And that, other friends were pointing out that like this swoopy motion you've got going on with both the pillars and the rocks here makes this really weird swing kind of effect to the composition. And with the emptiness up here, you've got nothing. And so the composition just goes blam! It just rolls right down and just atomic elbow drops right into this corner and it's dead. And it doesn't have anything that pulls it back around. And I needed something going on up here. Not much. Needed to fix this pillar. Needed to fix these pillars. Like if this other pillar was straight but broken, and maybe broken at an angle, some kind of interesting angle, maybe up right there, and you could have this composition that spirals a little bit more, it would have functioned a lot better. But it's a tragic kind of end to the image because I couldn't figure those things out. But having other artists who I respected, Dan DeSantos was one who gave the harshest of feedbacks on it that was really insightful for me for picking out these blind spots. And then not only picking them out, but like, hey, you got to mirror it. And there's a couple other rules about tangents that you could follow that would help. And, one of the other major ones is I never did an intermediary drawing for this. So I went right from my thumbnail sketch to the watercolor drawing. And nowadays I add an intermediary step. And in that intermediary step, it's much easier to see those problems. And that was the issue with the tangent, is that I just couldn't see it in the thumbnail, couldn't see it in the watercolor. But if I'd have done a clean line intermediary drawing, I'd have been able to see those things. So, anyway, it went on. The roasting went on. We don't need to go any further into it. Okay, we don't need any more roastings. But it's bad. I left it in the Instagram because as a cautionary tale, it's an Ozymandias for everyone else, but it's a cautionary tale to you. But yeah, I was very disappointed. Hey, Annie Noodle with the 36 months, 3 years. With the first badge and everything. Annie Noodle, thank you so much. 3 years. Is that some kind of record? Yeah, the trust part is important. And we're human. This is an important lesson, is that if you create a vacuum and you work in isolation, you will inadvertently begin listening to whoever gives you feedback. And random, no-name, anonymous, uncredentialed nobodies online are going to start giving you feedback, and you're not going to know, is it a troll? Is this person a 5-year-old? Have they ever painted a day in their life? Who are they? What are their credentials? Do they actually hate art and they hope that you fail? Are they on your team? Do they care about you? And if you're not conscientious and direct about choosing who you let in, to be that voice of correction, you will inadvertently allow strangers to become that thing, because none of us can live in isolation. Humans are not made for that. And you will take on board whatever feedback you get. And it'll be, if the only feedback you got was on Facebook and you didn't seek out professional advice, it's going to, even if you don't trust it, it's going to be echoing in your brain as you paint, and it will change you one way or the other. And likely for the worst. I mean, certainly for the worst. I won't even say likely. Like, you will mess yourself up as an artist. So choose proactively who you want to be inside that that bubble. And with that, it goes without saying, I think, that you need to be picking people you respect, not just yes men who are going to be like you're. It goes without saying that you're not going to be getting your mother to do this. You never want to be getting feedback from essentially friends who worry that their critical feedback of your work might affect your relationship, or whether, your mother might worry, if I give critical feedback, he's not going to take care of me when I'm old. And so, of course, your mother's never going to give you. No, I say that, but your mother, I'm sure, loves you and just wants the best for you and doesn't know how to be hard on you. It's not because she worries that you're going to abandon her when she's old. But assume that it is the worst case and get people who aren't necessarily going to be risking your friendship. And that's a tough one. To find somebody who you both trust and would be willing to give you that kind of guidance, but isn't going to be worried about your friendship. And I did have good friends. I mean, my wife Annie is one of those where she'll give absolutely critical feedback because she's on my team, and once what we put out, we kind of put out together. So it's in her interest as well to make sure that I'm not trash. So I have a high degree of confidence that she's going to be giving me real feedback on my work in a way that, maybe some of my other friends might not, or family might not. So that's an important thing too, is when you're going about choosing who you're going to allow to have a meaningful impact on your work and artistic path going forward. I like that pillar. Oh man, we got a lot done here. Let's check this out. So that's pretty great. I'm liking that. You should have sacrificed your best drawing to the gods of fire, burn them to ashes, and beg for more power. Who says I'm not? Burnt the watercolor, literally, physically. The answer is yes, JPEG Ninja. Literally, physically, on Halloween night every year, a whole new batch is burned in sacrifice to the art gods so that we might have a greater harvest next year. For the greater good. We wear hoods. We go out and dance around a fire. We burn a lot of art. And, I mean, how else do you think a career in this industry works? Hey, Lynn, for 34. Thank you so much. What a pleasant surprise to you as well. Yeah, Clayton, you are kind of my Jiminy Cricket. Anyone watch that, the new Puss in Boots? Man, the Jiminy Cricket in that is just great. Well, that's just horrible. How can you be this way? That's no way to go through life. Oh boy. This is gonna take some work. Hey, Adriano. And thank you, Professor Oaks. Are there going to be prints of the Frog Bard? I hadn't thought of that. Let's see how it turns out. I never want to commit to it in advance. Don't want to commit to it in advance. I feel like I'm going to jinx it if I do. So that would certainly be a goal. Would be to for this to be a print. I'm making it now. This might be a mistake, but I've made it in a largely square format. The purpose for that is that most of what Huion was asking for was social media related, and I think that is sort of its primary function for them. And so I'm kind of going out of my way to make sure that it's, square format, but I do have crops. So there's the crop line for, I think that's 8 by 10. Yeah, so that would be 8 by 10. And then square, I think, is that. And so this crop that I have right now would work for 4 by 5 and for 1 by 1. So technically we are set up for it. So I don't want to promise anything yet, though. Let's just see how it plays out. Speaking of which, let's save it. Let's go ahead and save it. Is it a good idea to take advice from kids on TikTok? That's what I'm talking about right there. Yeah, XCat, that's great. Adriano, I am. I cook the dinners around here, so I definitely am. Corey and I started it, Drea. We started it together. Way back in like 2005, Corey and I started doing... he had a name for it. Mine was just Art Sacrifice. But he had a different name for it because he felt that it was unfair to not give people a chance to buy them. And I started it primarily because James Gurney had a great blog going on at the time. He still has a great blog going on, but Gurney Journey at the time, he built a enormous magnifying lens to quote unquote raise his overall average, and he would use it to incinerate bad art of his so that it was no longer in the world and that his overall average was higher. Now that's far too scientific and rational for me, which makes sense because it's Gurney. I want something that's right, that's absolutely mystical. I want mysticism. And so I wanted to do the same thing, but I felt like we should not be making our supplication to science, but to the art gods of old, the ones of fire and death. And so that's where Corey and I were in agreement that Gurney's thing here was really cool and we should do this. What we were in disagreement of was whether or not you should allow other people a chance to grab those. Fire sale, that's what he called it. So Corey does fire sale every Halloween, where he's holding a gun to his art, and it's up to you to free the hostage. It's not him who's going to kill the art, it's you who's letting the art get killed. And he's guilt-tripping you. Now you can be the judge of whether you think that's ethical or not. It's not for me to say. But yeah. So Corey and I started that back in like 2005, and we've been doing it ever since. Sadly, I moved away after I got married, and so Corey and I haven't been able to do it like together in his fire pit, which is where we used to do it. We would just every Halloween evening we'd have some drinks after everybody was done with their Halloween festivities around here. There's usually some cider involved, and then we'd burn some drawings. We would also burn books. We would burn them. I'm ashamed to say. Books that offended us, that we didn't want libraries to have, that we didn't think were fit for the public. Actually, they were sort of promo copies that we'd been sent, artist copies that we'd been sent of projects that had turned out bad for us. We were just getting started in our careers, so there was a lot of those. And to sort of absolve ourselves of our the foul odor of the project, we would burn them. I don't do that anymore. Any prospective clients who are possibly out there listening to the stream. And thankfully, weirdly, since having kids, I've had less and less disappointments with my work where I will burn it. It still happens from time to time, but it's a lot more rare. And I think having kids narrows your focus to a razor fine point where you can no longer screw up. I've said this before, but you have kids and you're like, I am not allowed to fail. I'm not allowed to have an off night. Like everything I do has to work and work like sell. And so because of that pressure, you find ways of solving problems. And so I think I've gotten better at finding ways of solving problems. And there's been a lot. The fires have been smaller and smaller each year. Now, either that's me becoming complacent or getting better. And I'm not sure which. But that's what it is. Okay, I'm going to catch up with chat. An irredeemable monster! Oh, Summers Guy, awesome. 480 pages, 64 illustrations. Ah, and a thank you in the back. You rock, man. I look forward to seeing it. That's awesome. Congrats. That's a huge accomplishment. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Now to find a publisher. Ha! I don't even know what you do for that anymore. Honestly, like, I've given up on traditional publishing. There's some, I'd say that there are some traditional publishers who've asked me to submit manuscripts and have been very, very interested. And that's been a nice thing that I never had early on in my career, and I'd have been desperate for early on in my career. But I feel like when you're getting started, it's so hard to find that. And even now, like if I was going to shop any of my current manuscript ideas around, I don't even know where I'd begin. And it'd be, because I don't know where I'd begin, the temptation to just go straight to Kickstarter is heavy. And to maybe just crowdfund it. With our sketchbooks, we just self-fund it. Sometimes with pre-orders, but most of the time we just self-fund it and throw it up on the shop now. But early on, we were doing pre-orders to help with cash flow. And that worked. We did Kickstarters as well. But that cut that Kickstarter takes, you have to really believe that like the enthusiasm on the platform is going to make it worth it. And depending on who you are and you know the size of your reach, maybe it is. But I feel like it's a tough case. All right, I'm sitting here spinning my wheels on this ivy and not actually moving the ball forward. We need to move it forward, and I need to finish. I need to catch up with chat. Kurosaki, I have not. Self-education journey. Oh, I mean, that sounds excellent. I burned all of my preliminary drawings for the first several Mouse Guard issues after I finished the final art. I also burned batches of old sketchbooks that weren't selling. I regret it all. I'll bet you do. With Mouse Guard, I have to say I haven't burned sketchbooks. Because, so hear me out with this. If a humble sketchbook. Oh no, you're saying merchandise. You're burning old merchandise. That's a tough one. I was about to say actual sketchbooks. I would never burn a sketchbook. A sketchbook is a humble creature, and I realize you're not saying that now, but a sketchbook is a humble creature. It's not making pretenses. It shouldn't anyway. Make any pretenses at being this grand, epic work of creation. No, instead it's like thumbnail notes and preliminary designs for a greater project that will come later. It's a humble endeavor. And it's hard to feel that you need to invoke the wrath of the art gods when someone has already shown humility. When a piece of artwork is not making pretenses at being a god. It's saying, I'm a humble supplicant. I am but a servant, a mere acolyte, and I exist so that others may be great, not for myself. And what wrathful god can look upon that with disgust? None, I say. So I've never, to my knowledge, I've never burned a sketchbook. But I've burned a lot of art that has made pretenses at being great, that thought it was all that went around strutting like a peacock and strut itself right into the flames. Where it was burned up in a smoky residue and floated up into the sky to become a star, which is where all stars come from. Each of those stars in the sky, is what I tell my kids. Each of those stars is an image that failed me. Look at them all in despair, children of mine. Each failed me, and look at it now. And look at me now with my failures every night, staring down from above in disappointment at me, chiding me, berating me constantly with their twinkly, hateful little voices. It's why I am never out at night. I can't bear to look at them. And then my kids say, Daddy, you should take your medicine. And then they go back to playing Minecraft. Well, Summers Guy, yeah, run a Kickstarter later this year and self-pub some copies. Yeah, it's not a bad option. I've tried thumbnailing, but I just don't vibe with it. I tend to sketch and paint. Works for me, though. Yeah, whatever works for you. You know, art, the journey of creating something is going to be different for everybody. And whatever gets you there. I had a very narrow concept of what I wanted to be able to create. And I had a control freak mania about making sure that I could get to the end result that I wanted. And the other artists who were doing the things that I wanted to accomplish all used thumbnails. They all did preliminary sketch thumbnails. And so I think that's part of the big reason why I started using them, is really just because my heroes used them. I do, however, Gurney made a really good case for thumbnails. He made a rational scientific argument that I found very compelling to give like some science behind why they work for making better compositions. So he made the proposition in one of his posts that the human eye, and he had some kind of scientific study to back this up, which I don't have on hand. You'd have to look it up on Gurney Journey for the data on that. But that the human eye, or the way our brain interprets our vision, only truly registers a pretty narrow area, a pretty very tiny area in our vision in full comprehending detail, where your brain is keeping all the information in that space together at one time. Once you start working outside of that space, your brain sort of loses the overall sense of the thing. And so if you create compositions small, and he made the example of if you hold your fingers out like this at arm's length, that's about the amount of space that you're going to see as your focus vision. What's outside of that, you're going to have a general understanding of, and then on the very edge, you're going to have a peripheral, blurry understanding of. And this is all in the science of optics, which he's gone into a lot. Anyway, he makes the case that if you create thumbnails at that, under those circumstances where you are working within your paper's in front of you in a natural distance from your body, in probably like a 3-inch by 3-inch space in front of you, that you're going to create better compositions that will read more, that'll feel more proportionate and will follow a lot of like the classic compositional rules naturally. And if you try and just start painting this big, broad, sprawling thing, that you may eventually get there to the same place, but it's probably going to take a lot of trial and error and correction that you might have avoided by doing a quick thumbnail and then taking your thumbnail after you're happy with it and blowing it up larger, and then just repeating that over and over if you need to ultimately get to this a nice final design for your painting. So anyway, I found Gurney's like scientific rationale from the study of optics to be very compelling, and so it was another one of the reasons why I kind of just adopted it. But again, art's one of those things where it doesn't matter. However you can do it, it's sort of like you get an art degree, nobody cares. Art degree, we got an art degree here. See? These people don't care. Nice hat. I think you've got the potential to be a good cult leader. That's, we're only beginning. That star looks like a tiki bar. Clayton gets it. I often have the opposite problem. Not knowing what I want to draw, I tend to just sketch something and follow the vibe. No, I think most of like my best stuff has come from that kind of freewheeling ex nihilo sketching, where you're just putting shapes down and drawing. But I do tend to do that in a sketchbook, where once I'm done with, once the lines have coalesced into something interesting, a concept, I then will transfer that to a painting, and I'll try and do something much more involved, because eventually I'm going to need to go get reference, because redrawing your image several times and the use of reference are like the two biggest things that separate amateurs from professionals classically throughout art history, like, and well, throughout illustration history. Those two things are extremely important for coming up with a design where it has predictable results. But I think that idea of like just sitting down and drawing for the heck of it and seeing where it takes you is so fun. I just tend to do it very much smaller and much more limited. But I'm all about, yeah, exactly what you described there. I think it's great. When my kids were very young, where they're toddling, they're crawling around on the floor. My wife and I, my wife's also a career painter, illustrator, fine artist who, we would split the days up. I would watch them in the morning, and then about the mid-afternoon we would switch. Early afternoon we would switch, and then she would watch them, and I would go do all of my jobs. And this is how we lived for like the first, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years of their lives, really. And I couldn't bear to just sit there doom scrolling on my phone or playing Candy Crush or whatever, because they're toddlers. I loved my kids, but they're not that interesting, or at least they're interesting for a little bit, but after like the 500th little block tower, it starts to wear on you a little bit. You're not into this quite as much as you maybe once were, and you need something else to keep your sanity. And so I kept a sketchbook with me all the time, and I would do that very thing where I have nothing in my brain because I have not slept in 36 months, and I'm losing my mind, and there's nothing going on up there worth anything. So I'm just going to start sketching and see where it takes me. And the whole Plague of Dragons series came out of that. The whole Monster of the Month series came out of that. Like, some of the most fun, just crazy passion projects I've been able to work on in the past couple of years came directly out of me being trapped like a rat, unable to escape, and having no plan other than the love of just sitting down and drawing. But with all of those things, I eventually, plan to take them to this kind of level of finish where I want to do more than just the sketch. And after doing the thumbnail, I want to go get reference and redraw it and mirror it and see if I can't find ways of improving it. Maybe do a couple other sketches of different parts of it to see, is there some cooler thing that we've not taken advantage of? Is there some better, are there opportunities here we're missing? And that kind of thing. Oh, I want this to be his like bedroll. Like, maybe he might be living on the streets, this guy, this little frog. So I do think we're gonna have like a little bedroll here. It's just just a fancy carpet, essentially. Might give it a color. I don't know yet. As it stands, I think that's It just needs to fade into the background a bit more. I think I was getting lazy there and just turning it into like parchment. What has he got, a map? He's carrying a map with him? Maybe more yellow? Oh man, tornado warning, jeez. Yeah, be safe. XCat, I don't look at art stuff on stream because I'm terrible at managing all that stuff. But I'll check that kind of thing out off stream. It's better on the Discord. I sometimes check the Twitch whispers. I'm really bad about them though. Exclamation mark. By the way, exclamation mark Discord. If you'd like to check out our Discord community, anyone who's joining us for the first time today, we got a little Discord community, memes and art. And jokes. But we also have a share your art section, and so yeah, if you post it there, I'll check it out. DeviantArt and me do not get along, though. I gotta tell you. Too many instances of theft. And it takes him forever to hunt it down and correct it. I used to like DeviantArt early on, and then I don't know if they just like, I don't know what they did. I feel like it went bad at some point. Anyway, I don't get on with them these days. Have a good one, Summers guy. XCat, that should whisper you the link, and if it doesn't, then my OBS is broken again. But yeah, but hopefully that will have whispered you a link. Let's get a different brush out. I'm getting lazy here. Just kind of sinking into my chair. I need to wake up. Let's get some sharp angles in here. All elbows and kneecaps.
Think bye-bye.
Ooh, that was the right decision. That was what this needed. It's like, why is it just a blurry mess? So I'm getting lazy, that's why. Tomorrow is my kid's birthday. My boys are getting their first bicycles tomorrow. Excited about that. Made sure to buy a whole lot of bandages. We got bandages galore. That's always part of, first riding on a bicycle is just the sheer volume of injuries. If you didn't skin your knee, then maybe you didn't actually learn how to ride the bike. Okay, that is the obligatory skinned knee is integral to you internalizing the lessons. So we've got bandages on hand for that. And yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully it's not raining here. Because that would be a bummer, right? You get your first bicycle and it's raining. Oh yeah, we got helmets. But there's lengthy discussions between my wife and I about the use of knee pads, elbow pads, and all the rest of it, which I'm against because I think they're kids, they're made of rubber, and they're meant to get some injuries. Injuries are how you internalize hard lessons, and if you live in a bubble, you don't ever have. You may not remember a lot of the. You may not ever be encouraged to remember some of the harder lessons that, when you're older and you're not made of rubber, you'll wish you had those reflexes, the instincts that you develop as a kid, where you get those injuries when you're young and you're made of rubber. The limbs grow back. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I just smashed the microphone. I am sorry. I apologize to everybody. Yeah, the limbs grow back. They can just grow a new hand. It'll be fine. That ear will grow back. Don't worry about it. Put some Neosporin on there. You'll be good as new tomorrow. So there was some, disagreement over that style of parenting. And ultimately, it comes down to when they do end up losing a limb from road rash, it'll be me who has to explain it all to the doctor. That seems like a fair arrangement. I can live with that.
Bye-bye.
You have to use a variety of brushes with digital. Otherwise, it does get a bit just samey, boring. You got to get in there. There's a variety of brushes. Oh, congrats, Clayton. No training wheels. Scars add character. It's true. Clayton, absolutely. Calvin's dad was absolutely awesome. Oh, so the Discord link is not working. Is it really not? I can't do it from OBS here. Wait, hold on. Are my links broken again? I'm gonna be so mad. That is a broken link. Come on, OBS. No, that's Streamlabs, actually. That's not OBS. Well, rats. Well, we tried. We'll fix that later. Yeah, just XCat. Just send me a message on Twitch here. I'll try and remember after the stream. Unless anyone else in the chat has a link. Excuse me. Okay, we've got 9:36. We're gonna go for another 15 minutes, I think. Let's finish these leaves. Unless something crazy happens. I feel like we've made some good progress tonight. We've had some great discussions. But yeah, if anybody, any other questions or anything before we wrap it up tonight? I'm gonna be streaming this again Wednesday. I'm gonna work on it off stream a little bit. Sorry. We have to do the frog though. It has to get done. I got other projects. I cannot be spinning my wheels on this one. And there's a huge battle scene involving elves and orcs and woolly mammoths that I'd also like to stream at some point. So next Wednesday is likely going to be this. We're going to finish this one, is the hope. And then we're going to be on to woolly mammoths. Are you going to stream the Slime Monsters digital process? Sadly, I guess you mean the Insidious Slime here. Sadly, no. This is a client commission, and they are only asking for the monochrome. So all we're gonna have is this guy. I have, put some small requests out there for, hey, why don't we just do some watercolors? And I'm lobbying on a weekly basis for those watercolors. Hasn't happened yet, but I hope that after some time we'll be able to actually talk them into it and do some actual traditional watercolors of those. I just feel like it'd be so cool. So there won't be a digital process of that one. Well, unless the client wants that. I'd be happy to do digital too. I'm not gonna knock that. I would do either. But I would love the chance to do some of those in watercolor. I've been really itching to get back into more watercolor. I feel like I unlocked some new skills, like some new spells. It's like Final Fantasy VI. I unlocked new spells in this dungeon, and I'm dying to get back out there and actually use them. And I feel like the next watercolor I do is going to be a good one. And I'm, or at least I'm just excited about trying these things out. Maybe it'll be horrible. I don't know, but I want to try it. Let's give him a blue bag. Little traveling pouch here.
Thank you, bye-bye.
The next, though, there have been a lot of calls for the other version of the frog character here, which was this guy. The frogtopus. So this is still a character who's quite likely going to get done at some point as a key maker. He'll be the frogtopus key maker, I think, in the end. But so that will be a digital process when we finally get around to that one. I would love to get it done this month for Patreon, but I feel like I'm stretching myself too thin. And we got to finish this. Really want to finish this for the Patreon this month. And for Huion, and just clear the decks for next month. I'm just so far behind. Awesome, Maria. Glad to hear that. I think it'd be a cool one. It'd be a great one. You can't really go wrong just making roots. Just roots and vines and leaves. It's just nice and relaxing. Might be boring you folks to death, but I'm enjoying it. This here, I have it so much lighter. Probably needs to be darker. Just a little bit more depth there. I think that blue bag is a good choice, but it probably needs to be a darker blue. Not by much, just a little bit though. I think the bright blue might be something better for like decorative areas or something. I can't believe I said maybe we'd finish this on stream tonight. Ah! Oh, I was like thinking, we got so much more to do. Okay. I think we might call it there. Unless there are any other questions. Anything else anyone wants to put out there. I think we're going to call it there. This was a great stream. I'm sorry I couldn't stream earlier today. I know there's a lot of folks who were hoping for a afternoon stream. We had the kids' school had like a school shindig party for the kids today, and so that took up a lot of the time earlier.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Okay, yeah, let's zoom out and see what we did, which I'll admit probably isn't going to be a lot. That's pretty good. So I feel like that speaks well for the Huion tablet. Yeah.
Thank you, bye-bye.
It does. It moves fast. It's hard to say how, like, if it's faster or not, but it does move fast. So I'm liking it. It probably will be a fairly positive review overall. So nice having a night stream. It's been a minute. Yeah. I hope we can get back. I hope we can get back into more of these, like little less formal, a little more chill. What I really want is more of the community events, though. So man, it's been way too long since we've been able to do that. Yeah, let's call it good there. Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out on this Friday night. I hope you have an excellent night. David, coming in with the weirdest last minute question. When did the Willows book in the 50s? I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I feel like I should know that, because I know who you mean, but I'll never get his name. I think former Disney guy. Call it good there. Everybody, have a good night. We love you. We'll be back Wednesday, 10 a.m. No, David, I will not. I'm saying my goodbyes right now, and you're derailing everything. You're making this awkward for everyone in the chat. Right now, they're saying their goodbyes. It's like we left the restaurant after hanging out with everybody. We shook hands, we hugged, we said goodbye, and now we're walking together because we both parked in the same parking lot. And we're all just like feeling really awkward because we already said our tearful goodbyes and everything, and now I mean, are we gonna have to say goodbye again? It's just I feel everyone feels awkward now, David. You threw everything off. No, we're done here. Everybody, goodbye. Have a great night. We'll see you next Wednesday. Goodbye, 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 goodbye.